Tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern over on Jaguar 8, at a special time, a new college football video drops. In this video, we'll talk about a bizarre incident involving Wisconsin football back in the 1980s. And now, on with our feature presentation. Oh man, this one's gonna hurt. I think we can all agree that Al Michaels is one of the greatest announcers and play-by-play men of all time. He's a legend in every sense of the word, and he's been a part of the NFL and the sports world for so long that it's tough to imagine a season where he's not on the mic in some capacity. From the days of Monday Night Football on ABC, where he was the voice there for roughly half the time that program existed, to being the play-by-play man on Sunday Night Football ever since it came to NBC in 2006, Michaels has been there through it all for more than 30 years. But not everyone can stay on top forever. As an announcer, you end your career in one of two ways. You end it on top, retiring and getting out before you even have a chance to have your demise. Or you end on the bottom, looking 10 steps behind and looking like you have no idea what you're talking about. And it pains me to say this, but NBC's decision to not renew Al Michaels' contract and let him go to Amazon and let Mike Tirico take over the play-by-play duties for Sunday Night Football was an inevitable decision, and I think we all knew that. But it's looking more and more genius by the day, because what we're seeing right now with Al Michaels at Amazon is a sad, sad demise. And what happened on Thursday night in the Week 6 matchup between the Washington Commanders and the Chicago Bears exemplifies just that. You might not have caught it. You might have flipped the game off after the de facto final play of the game, where Justin Fields' pass to Darnell Mooney came just about half a yard short, which all but clinched the win for the Commanders. But if you stayed on and watched the true final play, you may have caught it, because what Al Michaels said and suggested might have truly been the dumbest moment of his entire announcing career. For those who aren't watching this in the immediate aftermath of the game, I'm going to briefly set the scene, because this game was truly an atrocity. And seeing as the point of this video is about the comments and suggestions made by Michaels, and not necessarily the game itself, I'll keep it short and skip ahead to the fourth quarter, where the Bears are down 12-7 against the Commanders, have no timeouts left, and they need a touchdown here to win it. If they get the touchdown, then they take the lead and pretty much have the game won, barring a miracle. If they don't get the touchdown, then it's game over, no questions asked. And after the Bears get into the red zone following an amazing 39-yard run by Justin Fields, they have the ball at the 5-yard line, with 4 plays to find the end zone and take control of this game. Unfortunately for Chicago, they're unable to do that. Fields throws 2 straight incomplete passes, and then looks for Mooney in the end zone, which might have been a touchdown if he caught it cleanly, but because he juggled it and had control nowhere close to the goal line, it was not ruled a touchdown, giving the Commanders the ball back with the game pretty much won. Now, most people likely turned the game off at this point. It was an ugly game on so many levels, but especially in the broadcasting booth. It was not exactly a great game for Al Michaels, who sounds noticeably worse and less sharp than he did back in 2021 with NBC. Among the lowlights during this performance, just in the final 2 minutes, included that 4th down play where he painfully went on and on about how Mooney did not catch the pass and the refs were ruling it incomplete, even though the refs ruled it complete and just short of the goal line, and Kirk Herbstreit was trying so desperately to get a word in, but Michaels kept on going. A suggestion that the Bears were in field goal range when they were down 12-7 with 2 minutes left, even though we all knew a field goal wasn't even on the table and made no practical sense, and this play from earlier in the 4th quarter, where Michaels called it a completed pass, still ruled that it was completed, and was talking about it like it was completed, even after the official gave the incomplete motion and tapped his hand to the ground. Michaels has had some good games before, obviously. Heck, he's got over 3 decades worth of them during his time in the NFL. This was very clearly not one of them. But as bad as they were, none of those things by themselves would qualify for a video. Heck, I'm a Jaguars fan. I've been listening to the bottom of the barrel announcers on the pecking order at CBS and Fox my whole life. During the Jaguars-Chargers game in Week 3, the last time I was actually happy, I watched Greg Gumbel, another man who's lost 5,000 steps in the last few years, not know who the Jaguars had next on their schedule, and then scramble to find out what team it was, even though it is basic research and preparation, and even though it is just a simple Google search away. I don't want to do videos on nitpicks. If it was just that, then I'd chalk it up as a bad game in what's been a rough season for Michaels, especially after he had a great bounce back year in 2021, where he sounded as fresh as ever. Plus, I was a broadcaster for quite some time in a past life. Everybody makes simple screw-ups every now and then. We're all human. We're not always on our A game. But then, when the Commanders got the ball back after the Mooney play, with the Commanders up by 5 points, and the Bears with no timeouts left, Al Michaels, in all seriousness, suggested that the Commanders do this. Roll the tape.
Washington, if nothing else, you think an intentional safety? You could, but you don't want to if you can get it out of there.
That's right. Al Michaels was seriously saying and throwing out the idea that the Commanders should take an intentional safety in this situation. I'm sorry, what? An intentional safety in this spot? I don't want to say how stupid can you be, because Al Michaels is a legend, so I'll say it in the nicest of terms. What the heck are you possibly thinking? Before I break down why this would be one of the dumbest and most impractical decisions of all time, let's talk a bit about the intentional safety, because it's a trend that has caught on in recent years when a team is winning and is pinned deep in their own territory. Now, the intentional safety has been around since at least the 70s. The earliest documentation on video of a team trying this out comes all the way back in 1971, when the Raiders, up 34-31, just had their punter get the ball and run around the back of the end zone before time expired. Famously, it was brought into the mainstream where the average football fan knew about this strategy in 1973, when Miami Dolphins head coach Don Shula tried this in a game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, which you can learn more about by clicking the card in the upper right corner. And since then, it has been done countless upon countless of times, as it is a brilliant strategy where you're losing the battle by conceding points, but you're winning the war. You do the intentional safety, where you sacrifice 2 points to increase your chances of winning, in what is usually one of two scenarios. Option 1 is that it's 4th down late in the 4th quarter, and you're ahead, usually by 6 or 7 points. Either way, no matter what happens, the opposition needs a touchdown to score and tie or win the game. A lot can go wrong if you punt the ball away, since you're backed up in your own end zone, so it could get blocked and recovered for a touchdown. Or the punt could easily be returned for a touchdown, or you could give the opposition some really good starting field position. So you do the intentional safety, so that instead of punting while backed up, you're punting while standing on the 20-yard line, giving yourself tons of room and minimizing the chances of the opposition getting a big play. Option 2 is that you're ahead by anywhere from 3 to however many points, and you just want to run out the clock. There's little time left, so instead of putting the ball in the opposition's hands, you just keep it in your hands the whole time. Get the ball, run around for a bit, and when the clock hits triple zeros, just run out of the end zone, and the ball game is over. I should note that when done correctly, as in when done in the right situation, I've never seen an intentional safety with under 30 seconds left fail at the NFL level. I've seen a few times where it got a bit too close for comfort. Heck, I saw back in 1978 when the Seattle Seahawks did an intentional safety with 15 seconds left, up by 6 points against the Kansas City Chiefs. The right spot to do it. But then they delivered an awful punt and got called for pass interference, meaning that the Chiefs had one final play at the 7-yard line, which completely defeated the purpose of the intentional safety. The Seahawks won that game, thank God. However, I've never seen an NFL team lose a game when this strategy is done correctly. So with that being said, and with what we know about the intentional safety, think about what Al Michaels just said with his idea of having the Commanders take an intentional safety here. Let's weigh the pros and cons of taking the intentional safety, versus what literally every football coach in America would have done here, and that is, just have the quarterback fall forward. If you take the intentional safety, you're not going to be able to let the clock run out all the way to triple zeros. There's 30 seconds left. Unless we're talking about a pitchy woo-woo play, where you've got 10,000 laterals going all over the place, I've never seen a play last longer than 30 seconds, especially a design play, and especially a play where you have no room to run backwards because you're pinned by your own goal line. This means that Chicago is getting the ball back with about 26 seconds left. Except not only are you giving the Bears the ball back for no reason, but by taking the safety, you also turned it from a 5-point game at 12-7 into a 3-point game at 12-9, meaning that all the Bears need to do is get into field goal range and they tie it up. And even though Chicago's offense has been inept all day, considering what Justin Fields just did, all it takes is one run to get into that range. So by taking the intentional safety, not only are you giving Chicago the ball back, and not only are you making it so that Chicago needs a field goal to tie or win instead of a touchdown, but you're doing this with plenty of time left on the clock. Compare that to the alternative of, literally just falling forward. If you fall forward, you win the game. The Bears have no timeouts left. They cannot stop the clock. If you keep the ball here, as long as you don't go backwards, you literally win the game. And we're all going home and calling it a night. Ask yourself this. How many times have you honestly seen a play where the goal was to fall forward and it lost yards? Unless you had Troy Polamalu on the opposite side timing the snap and jumping over the center, it's not happening. I've watched a lot of football, and I've never seen it happen. Now, I've seen quarterbacks get stonewalled and maybe even pushed back a hair, but not a yard, since remember, the full ball has to be in the end zone for it to count as a safety, to the point where it would be a safety. The play is foolproof. And even in the insane scenario where they lose yards and Chicago gets a safety, guess what? Whether it's an unintentional safety or an intentional safety, it is still a safety and counts all the same. It's still 2 points to the Bears no matter how you slice it. The absolute worst case scenario here, which again, is about as unlikely as John Mellencamp ever winning an Oscar, is identical to the best case scenario if you do take the intentional safety. Which raises the question of why you'd even think about taking the intentional safety in the first place. Look, I really don't like beating up on the guy, because he truly is one of the all-time greats, and he's been the voice of so many iconic moments in American sports history. But I don't know how you can possibly defend this. Saying that they should take the intentional safety here is like saying a batter should try and bunt the runner over from first base over to second when there are 2 outs. Or saying that the team in hockey that's leading the game should pull the goalie with a minute left. It makes no logical sense, and just about everyone knows that. The demise of Al Michaels this year in the booth has not been fun to see, and I don't know what it is, but the ending of Thursday's broadcast was just really sad on so many levels. Because if you're a head coach, and you're dumb enough to call an intentional safety up by 5 with 30 seconds left, and the other team having no timeouts, and it's first down, then you would be out of a job the next day. I can tell you that much. Al Michaels has been on the mic for over half a century at this point. But in terms of his lack of situational awareness for the game at hand, for those who watched it, this has to be, without a doubt, the dumbest moment of his entire career. Get your official Jaguar Gator 9 merchandise by going to jg9shop.com, and be sure to like this video, ring the notification bell, and subscribe down below if you haven't already, as it helps the channel out a lot. And be sure to check out Twitch every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern for your chance to play NFL trivia and win cash prizes. Link in the description below. If you want to see videos like this condensed down to 60 seconds, then follow me on TikTok at Jaguar Gator 9. To see college football videos, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 8. To see highlight videos of players throughout the history of the NFL, subscribe to JG9 Highlights. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. So you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.